Sheffield Eagles are the newest club in the Rugby Football League and can be proud of what they've achieved. And who better to start to tell their short story than the man whose dream of owning and running his own club became a reality, Gary Hetherington.
I think the turning point was I did apply for the coaching job at York, which had been one of my previous clubs as a player. And I got down to the last two and was interviewed by the board. And it really was on the journey home from York that evening back to my home in Pontefract, which sowed the seeds of Sheffield Eagles, because I felt that even if I'd have been offered the job, I don't think I would have wanted it. I felt that the management of the club were on a different wavelength to myself, and I felt that there were radical changes needed, and that the only way to be able to implement them is to be able to have a fairly free rein and do the things in the way that you believe they need to be done. And felt that really the only way would be to try and form a completely new club, a club without traditions, without history, without inherited problems as well. And that's the soul of the seed of Sheffield Eagles, really.
The opportunity to join the Rugby League was dependent on playing at Bramall Lane, home of Sheffield United. But with the forms to join already lodged, United withdrew their permission, and Gary had no alternative but to withdraw his application. So he decided to join Kent Invicta, and it was a useful move, as he learnt lessons which he could put to good use at a later date. But the loss of Bramall Lane was a major blow. Help, though, was on the horizon in the shape of John Carter, manager of Owlerton Stadium in Sheffield.
In a word, then, you personally would welcome Rugby League at Owlerton Stadium?
Most certainly, with open arms, and I think that once it's established here, it will stay with us as long as our other sports have done, and it'll see us well through into the next century.
The Eagles then had a home, but any euphoria when they narrowly got into the league for the start of the new dawn was quickly dampened by the news that the club's major sponsor, Telvista Television, had gone into liquidation.
It was when I realised that money wasn't forthcoming that I had to put a hold on that recruitment policy. In fact, only two players were purchased, Paul McDermott from York for £4,500 and Billy Harris from Wakefield Trinity for £500. All the other players were junior signings, and players who we had earmarked, like for example Paul Dixon, who was a rising star at that time, we had to put a hold on it. And I began to realise that perhaps Telvista were in more trouble than I thought they were.
And then an unexpected decision by the Rugby League Council was another major setback, and Eagles were fighting for survival before they'd started.
When clubs were admitted to the Rugby League, they naturally shared in the distribution of monies, which at that time was about 20,000 per season. And the Rugby League Council, in its wisdom, on accepting both Sheffield Eagles and indeed Mansfield Marksmen at the time, put a clause in that for the first year they would not share in that distribution. So at the time when we needed it most, it was almost like saying, well look, we'll give you a chance, but we're going to put as many obstacles in your way just to try, and if you do eventually succeed, then good luck to you. But certainly not the way to try and get a new club up and running.
But Gary fought on and assembled a team with a mixture of raw recruits and seasoned players. He also played himself in the first game against Rochdale Hornets. Eagles won by 29 points to 10, and Hetherington landed a drop goal. The Eagles were up and running, and a crowd of almost 1,500 was there. Their second game was against Fulham, also at home, and it's been captured on film for posterity.
Making ground. Fans yelling Sheffield on. And it's Hetherington again, proving difficult to stop. Hetherington really trying hard at this stage of the game. It's now coming to Farah. Looks like a work move. Farah gives it out to Cooper. Cooper to Ray Smith. Ray Smith getting the crowd very excited. Gets nearly to the line. Ran onto the ball very hard. Just a very slight young man, this Smith, but certainly run on with a lot of enthusiasm. And this is Hetherington, and it's a score to Sheffield. A good try by Sheffield with Steve Cooper. Steve Cooper taking on his opposite number, Alan Dearden, and now it's Paul Welsh who's there. It must be a try. Well, that was quick work by Paul Welsh from acting half-back. He looked as though he was going to pass it out to the right. The Sheffield...
That first traumatic season ended with the Eagles' third bottom of the league. 28 games played, 8 wins. But Gary was happy that the young recruits like Mark Gamson, Darryl Powell and Mark Campbell had gained experience, and this, coupled with the talents of Vince Farah and Paul McDermott, saw Eagles up to 12th position the following season, 1985-86. At this time, Eagles made more sporting history when Kat Hetherington became the first woman to sit on the Rugby League Council. She's now their first woman president. 1986-87, the Eagles' third season in the league. Time to reflect on the progress made.
The first season was 17th, the second season we came 12th, and the third season we came 6th. And this third season we were beginning to make real progress. The first 2 seasons, as I said, we'd purely survived. For the third season I started taking over the coaching role and brought in Steve Ferris, who was to become a very big ally, as my assistant, and also Howard Cartwright. So we've got a pretty stable coaching and management team, and of course by now some of our young players like Darryl Powell, Mark Aston, Mark Gamson, Paul Broadbent has joined us, Mick Cook has joined us. They'll be coming together established in the professional game. And the third season we had some very good victories and we came 6th, and we could see ourselves, you know, with a chance now.
Here's a ways, Bridgman. Here's a chance. Here's a chance. It's a try. What a try that was. Always threatened all the time, Bridgman. Can always do that.
In the 1987-88 season, Eagles were considered serious promotion contenders, and they won 6 of their first 7 games. By mid-season, they led Division 2. Sheffield then played Wigan, the newly crowned World Club champions, in the first round of the John Player Trophy.
Wigan having to backpedal as Hampson comes in to take him. He managed to get his pass in. Sheffield going for the line, and that's a good run as Nelson gets into the way, and they're going to score. Number 7's over, and Sheffield go into the lead and get the first try as Close goes over. That's a great break by loose forward Powell, sets it up. To acting half-back, turning and twisting. Gets it out, and it's nicely brought. A good break by Sheffield, coming turning for the Wigan line, and Hampson does just, and he's let the ball go. Sheffield in danger.
The Eagles led this game by 8 points to 2, but Wigan's superior fitness told, and the world champions eventually won. The Eagles carried on and picked up their league form, finishing the season in 5th position. Now into their 5th season, and Eagles started slowly compared to previous seasons, even though they were voted favourites for promotion again. However, they climbed the league table steadily, and a home victory over Chorley on the 2nd of April 1989 clinched promotion in 3rd place. An historic day, April the 2nd, 1989. Hetherington and his players would crack open that bottle of champagne. They were in the 1st Division. They then went to Old Trafford for the Division 2 Premiership final, and a great display saw them beat Swinton 18-14. Winning had started to become a good habit. But yet another bombshell was just around the corner, as in the wake of the Hillsborough disaster, the local authority refused a safety certificate for the Owlerton Stadium, and Eagles were again without a home. So that following season they played at 7 different home venues, and at one of them, Bramall Lane, they met the newly crowned World Club champions Widnes in an historic game.
Broadbent plays the ball. Aston tries a chip through, and it's a try. A lovely little chip through from Mark Aston. Jeff Hardy knew exactly what he was up to, followed the ball. Not the prettiest play we've seen from Sheffield at the moment, but it seems to be working. Powell's through, looks inside, Maguire's over for a try, underneath the posts. Maguire on a bursting run, but he's brought down. The referee says play on. Sheffield have scored again. Plays the ball, Smiley. Captain Powell looks to offload, offloads to Smiley. Inside to Dickinson. Dickinson looks for Hardy. Hardy goes round Tate. And Hardy fights off Hume and scores another try for Sheffield under the post. Well, Powell certainly had a powerful game today from the centre. Had a lot of driving runs. Caused Widnes a lot of problems. Aston. Inside ball to Sonny Nicol. Sonny Nicol's going for the line and he's over. Another try to Sheffield. Sheffield running riot here today.
And doing so in front of a crowd of nearly 9,000. Eagles went on to win by 31 points to 6. Now to Hillsborough, another game to remember against Wigan. And despite a good display, the final score was Eagles 10, Wigan 22. But the Sheffield boys gave their fans plenty to celebrate. Despite playing some good rugby and scoring some great tries, the nomadic experience was telling on the Eagles, and survival in Division 1 was left for Wigan to decide when they took on Leigh at Central Park.
At least 20 metres. Kevin Allett said that pass was forward. The hooter has gone. Wigan have won the game. They've won the championship, and Leigh are doomed to second division football next season.
An inglorious way to end your first season in the top flight, but at least Eagles' target of survival had been achieved. Sheffield City Council by now had offered the new Don Valley Stadium for the use by the Eagles the following season. It matched their ambition in terms of sport and style. But the first match of the season was at Central Park, Wigan, and Sheffield contributed to an incredible game.
In the fifth tackle. Michael sends a long pass and there's a gap in the Wigan defence, and now Sheffield have set it up well. Powell puts a kick in, the chase over the line. Chase with Betts and Sheffield could be there first, and Sheffield are in. Sheffield have scored. Nice little overhead kick here. That's a beautiful run by Powell. He did a good... Hampton takes him, it gets it out onto the wing, went inside and towards it, and Sheffield look as if they're going to be all over a score here, and they're in! Dickinson is in!
It was 18-all in the end at Central Park. The Eagles had started well, gaining 5 points from their first 3 league games. But they couldn't maintain this form, and they went on to 8 consecutive defeats, leaving them firmly anchored at the foot of the table by the middle of the season. Despite some good displays later on, they were relegated to the new 8-team second division. But don't think for 1 minute that that deterred their coach.
So to actually get relegated turned out to be a blessing in disguise, because we were able to consolidate in the second division, get these players into winning habits, which was important, particularly in the early years of the career. And I felt it gave us a better chance of actually building up support as a winning team, as opposed to a struggling team in a higher division.
And at the end of the following season, Eagles were again back on course. A place at Old Trafford in the Divisional Premiership final. The opponents this day were Oldham, and the Eagles won the trophy once again by 34 points to 20. It was the double for Sheffield, having already clinched promotion back to the top flight as champions. Promotion was achieved by the end of February, but the championship wasn't clinched until Leigh were hammered at Don Valley, and the Eagles and their fans enjoyed their day in the sunshine at Old Trafford. Back in Division 1, 6 wins under their belts from the first 9 games, the Eagles entertained Australia at Don Valley.
Long pass, and Gary Jack on the bounce! Gary Jack! Oh, get it! Oh, you've got to give that man credit! High kick from Tim Loam. Again, Godden underneath. Oh, it's all on. Try time! Anthony Simpson!
They scored 4 tries against the Aussies, but it was a hard physical game. Not the best preparation for your first Yorkshire Cup final 4 days later.
So that's Tim Loam, out to Aston. Wider ball, lovely ball to Maguire. It's going to be on sticks. Well, the revival still goes on. Can they come back, David?
Despite the late charge, the Eagles couldn't come back. They lost the game by 16 points to 29. But they picked up their league form after this and finished the season in a creditable 10th place. Now on to 1993-94. Ironically, first match of the season against Gary Jack's new charges at Salford. Jack had also persuaded Howard Cartwright to leave the Eagles' nest to become his assistant at the Willows, so there was some extra spice in the match. The Eagles completely outplayed Salford on the day, and to add to Gary Jack's embarrassment, it was David Fraser's interception try of his loose pass that allowed a 70-yard canter under the posts. A great opening day win at the start of a campaign which would see Sheffield finish in their highest ever position of 6th in the First Division table and a place in the First Division Premiership playoffs for the very first time. It was a memorable campaign, and they achieved that 6th spot with some great wins, but none better than the one against Wigan in March. It was their first ever victory over the champions.
The confidence and the knowledge that it could beat anybody else. Wigan always remained the team that we couldn't beat until they came to Don Valley Stadium. In a very high pressure match, we needed to win to stay in the top 8. Wigan needed to win to what would appear to win the championship. If they lost to us, then their chances of winning that championship were vastly reduced.
Ashton, drop goal. No, it isn't. It's an high one. Oh, this time Robinson's dropped it. A try. It's 4 points. Unfortunate, young Jason Robinson.
Coming round the narrow side of the field, and Wigan have lost possession, and it's back to Eagles. Well, this is and it comes out the wing, and Sheffield should score to go and tearing down. The cupboard's coming across, and they're going to get into the corner. Oh, and in touch. And there goes the whistle for a well-deserved great victory, the first they've ever got over Wigan. They will be highly delighted, and the whole of the Rugby League will be pleased for Sheffield, but it is a win which has been well and truly earned.
Yes. Season 94-95, and the Eagles had started slowly. By Christmas they were near the bottom of the table, but the new year saw a revival with some excellent results, starting with this game against St Helens. The Saints had built up a 20-0 lead thanks to tries like this from David Lyon. But the Eagles fought back. Paul Broadbent's try set them on their way.
Here comes Briggs though, got Powell on pace. Oh, great ball. Excellent try. Magical stuff from Darryl Powell. Eagles right on song. Charge through. Darryl Powell underneath. That was just the sheer weight of force of the attack. Takes the ball to the post, second tackle. Ball Broadbent on a charge, Anthony Farrell hits the line, over the line. Oh, second row play of the highest order.
The Eagles crowd up on their feet, and no wonder. And when Leeds were beaten that same year, it ended their title hopes. The Eagles have had 11 great years. It's one of sport's most compelling fairy tales. They are now founder members of the new Super League. They are up where they belong.